There is a moment, a quiet, almost invisible moment, when something inside you shifts, when you stop waiting for their approval, stop fearing their judgment, stop measuring your worth by their reaction. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. You become a different person entirely. You become dangerous, not to others, to your own limitations. Most people never reach that moment. They spend their entire lives in a silent prison, not locked in by walls, locked in by opinions, other people's opinions, people who will forget them by next week, people who are too consumed by their own insecurities to ever truly see them. And yet, the average person will sacrifice their dreams, their peace, their potential, just to avoid the discomfort of being misunderstood. Marcus Aurelius understood something about this that most men in his position chose to ignore. He was the most powerful man in the world, an emperor, a ruler of Rome. He commanded armies. He decided the fate of nations. He had every reason to be consumed by pride, reputation, and the obsession with how history would remember him. And yet, when he sat alone and wrote in his private journal, the words he chose revealed something rare, something almost impossible for a man of his power to possess. He wrote not for the world. He wrote for himself, to remind himself, to correct himself, to discipline himself, because he knew the greatest war a man could fight was not on any battlefield. It was inside his own mind. Think about the last time you changed who you were because of what someone might say. Maybe you stayed silent when you should have spoken. Maybe you shrunk yourself to fit into a space you had already outgrown. Maybe you chose the safe path, the acceptable path, the path that would not draw criticism, not because it was right for you, but because it was comfortable for them to watch. That is the trap, and almost nobody warns you about it because almost everybody is in it. Here is the brutal truth. The people whose opinions you fear the most are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. They are too busy managing their own fears, their own insecurities, their own performance for the world. You are living inside a story you wrote yourself, a story where their judgment is the final verdict on your value. But that story was never true. It was just never challenged. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. But most people do the opposite. They give their power away every single day to strangers, to co-workers, to people on the internet who will never know their name. They hand over their peace like it costs nothing, and then they wonder why they feel empty, why they feel stuck, why nothing they build ever feels like theirs. The moment you stop caring what they think is not an act of arrogance, that is what most people misunderstand. They confuse freedom with selfishness. They confuse self-possession with pride. This is not about not caring about people. You can love deeply and still refuse to be controlled by their gaze. You can respect others and still trust yourself more. What you are releasing is not connection. What you are releasing is the need for constant validation. That is a very different thing. There is a kind of person who has already done this. You have met them. You know them by the way they carry themselves. They do not rush to explain their decisions. They do not over-justify their choices. They move with a quietness that unsettles people who are still living for the crowd. And the crowd notices. The crowd always notices, because the most threatening thing you can show a person who is still trapped is proof that the cage was never locked. When you stop seeking approval, something strange happens to the people around you. Some will admire you, but many will become uncomfortable because your freedom reminds them of their own chains. Your silence challenges their noise. Your certainty makes their doubt more visible. Do not be surprised when people who once supported you begin to quietly withdraw. Do not be shocked when the same people who encouraged you become the first to question your choices. This is not betrayal. This is exposure. You have changed the game, and they are still playing the old one. Marcus Aurelius faced this constantly. He was surrounded by people who wanted things from him: power, attention, favor, recognition. Being emperor did not make that lonelier reality disappear. It amplified it, and what kept him grounded was not control over others. It was relentless control over himself. He returned to the same discipline every morning, not because the world rewarded him for it, but because he understood that a man who rules nations but cannot rule his own reactions is not free. He is just powerful in chains. Real freedom begins the day you decide that your self-respect is not negotiable, not for belonging, not for comfort, not for the warmth of approval you were never guaranteed to keep. That is a hard decision, because human beings are wired for connection. We are wired to care what the tribe thinks. For thousands of years, being rejected by the group meant death. That instinct is old. It is deep. It does not disappear easily. But you are not an animal running from predators. You are a conscious being with the ability to examine your own fear and choose a different response. The person you are pretending to be for others is exhausting you, not just mentally, physically, emotionally. The energy it takes to manage everyone else's perception of you is enormous. And the tragedy is that all of that effort, all of that performance, it is still never enough, because you cannot satisfy a moving target. Approval is not a destination you can reach. It is a mechanism others use to keep you reachable. The moment you satisfy one expectation, another appears. It is designed to keep you running. The only way to win is to stop playing. This is what Marcus Aurelius spent his entire life practicing, returning to himself. Every time the world pulled him outward, every time the noise became too loud, every time praise tried to make him forget his own standards, he came back, not to isolation, not to coldness, but to himself, to his own values, to the things that were true, regardless of who was watching. And that is the shift. That is the moment everything changes. When you stop living for the audience and start living for the truth. When your decisions are no longer shaped by how they will look, but by whether they are right. When you can sit alone at night and feel clean. Not because everyone is pleased with you, but because you were honest. You were true. You did not betray yourself to avoid someone else's discomfort. The world will always have opinions. The noise will never fully stop. People will judge you when you rise, and they will judge you when you fall. They will judge your silence, and they will judge your voice. You cannot outrun it. You cannot outlive it. What you can do is reach the point where it simply does not reach you anymore. Not because you built a wall, but because you built something stronger inside. Something so solid, so grounded, so certain that their words land on it and slide off. That is not something you can fake. That is not something anyone can give you. It is something you choose, slowly, painfully, daily. Marcus Aurelius did not become great because Rome celebrated him. He became great because even inside the most demanding role a human being could hold, he refused to lose himself. He kept writing. He kept questioning. He kept holding himself accountable to a standard that was his own. Not history's, not the Senate's, his own. You will not find freedom by waiting for their approval to stop mattering. You will find it the day you decide it already doesn't. The day you wake up and choose yourself. Not because the world finally makes it easy, but because you are done waiting for permission to be who you already are. They will have opinions. Let them. You have a life to live.